Hello and welcome to another Utopia Planitia. We're back after a 2-week break, ready and raring to go. I am Teacher Kirby, and joining me is our normal panel. We'll start with Ed. Say hi, Ed.
Hi, Ed. And Ed's probably high anyway, so.
And then we have just Steve.
Yep, just me. I'm here.
Yep, he's just here. Our usual Ain is, congratulations, Ain. He is graduated from college, culinary school, so Ain can now cook. And we'll all say, hi, Ain!
Hi,
But he
Ed.
couldn't join us.
Hey, congratulations on being in debt for the next 10 years.
Yeah, but on another note, I don't think it's just any school that he's graduated from. I believe it is the Culinary Institute of America.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So quite a big achievement there, and hats off to him. Well done.
Yes, well done, Ain. We're waiting for that cake. Okay. Because he did
Well,
graduate.
he keeps sending me pictures of chocolates on Facebook and none of them ever materialised, so I'm going to big tray chocolates now.
I know, right? And then we have with us our volunteer, Covert Tiger, who sent us his build. Say hi, Tiger.
That's the covert bit.
Yeah.
I know, right? Was that static I was hearing there?
Light that is the end switch channel to AFK room on teacher's corner.
And I forgot to change my sound pack. I want there.
Fail.
I know, that's okay. I changed it. Sounds are deactivated now. So, yeah. They won't hear all the spam stuff that I usually hear.
So has logged in.
Well, no, like Steve could change channel and tell everybody his lovely phonetic nickname, but now he can't because nobody would hear it. Ha ha!
Great
Anyway.
competition. Can you guess Steve's phonetic nickname?
He changes it every day.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the hell it is.
Anyway, yep, he fire shots at me left and right. Anyway, so
why is it he can take time to change his phonetic nickname, but he can't find time to change his underwear?
I don't know.
Who says I'm wearing any?
It's
One of those
All right.
again.
We should probably get on with the build.
We should. Before we get too far into our usual shenanigans. Alright, so this week, Tiger has challenged us with a Vonph Dreadnaught Carrier. The biggest ship in the game, size-wise. Okay, so let's start with the starship and equipment. What do you guys think here?
Well, he's got the Iconian 4-piece, so that's
He does.
good. Way to meet the meta.
And
I like how you're kind of going canon with it with the Herald anti-proton. Even though it is anti-proton, but that's all right.
Yeah, well.
Ed?
I was thinking exactly along the same lines as Steve, and I was going to mention that with the Herald anti-protons were sort of canon. What are you looking for us to actually do with your build? What do you want the ship to do, Tiger? Which direction do you want to take it? Which is giving you more fun?
Well, that's part of the problem. I mean, I'm not quite sure where to take it.
And how are you flying it at the moment? What are you doing with it?
Kind of been experimenting with tank builds, kind of dabbled with DPS as well.
Okay.
Then sorry,
So I'm
12
thinking-
disconnected from the server.
We could go a bit of tank DPS. A little bit of both.
That's the kind of way I was leaning with it.
Yeah. So I notice you've got quite a few of the fairly expensive consoles. You've got the Tachyokinetic from the Lobby store. You've got the Plasmonic Leech. You've got the Plasma Explosion consoles from the Embassy. And these are the threat amplifiers, so you're pulling quite a bit of threat with these. And then you've got, of course, the vulnerability locators. So you're going from kind of a mid-range to high-end build here. And then, of course, you've got the Temporal Disentanglement Suite. This is kind of a nice little thing. That's a free console. Nice little one there. Any other thoughts there on the gear? This is actually pretty nice stuff.
I myself would be weighing up the damage from a plasma console versus the damage increase from the crit. I would seriously weigh those. Yeah, I would seriously weigh those two up. I've just got a little. I mean, it depends what his base crit is. I mean, what are your crit levels at the moment, or in orbit around our space? Or do you know what they are, at all, Tiger?
Let me take a look here.
Have a look if you got the ship
off
there.
and take a look.
Yeah, have a look with and without. Let's just see the increase that it's actually giving you.
Here. Right now, showing about a 18.4 crit chance, 87.3% severity.
Okay, and with?
Bumps it up to 20.5 and 95.8.
Base increase crit chance of what, 2%, or 1% roughly,
Yeah.
2% to 1.9, something around there. Yeah, for that amount of chance increase, I think you'd be better off with the actual plasma console.
Yeah. It'll help you generate more threat, and it'll give you of course, the extra DPS from the plasma console. Now, the other thing I'm wondering, would you have the ability to... One of the ways we were talking about going would be a tank, a DPS tank. And I'm wondering if you would have the ability to change these to EPG instead of flow.
I actually anticipated that, so I do have that capability. In fact, I've
Awesome.
gotten 3 out of the 4 already up to Epic Mark 14. So
nice. You anticipated.
Still working on the last one.
You anticipated. Yay! So the other thing I would say, as far as
joined the server.
Gear, your aft weapons,
Binfari
you might
12
want to get
disconnected
up
from the
to
server.
14 as soon as you can. That's, as we always say, that is a huge difference. It's almost like doubling the output of each weapon, just because of the way the weapons scale.
And looking at the mods on the weapons themselves, I know that people say the Holy Grail out there is crit D3 pen and damage 3 pen, but as we discovered, any combination of crit D, damage, and if you've got crit H in there as well, it's still a good weapon. You'll still get some good numbers out of it. So I think those weapons are good enough.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty good.
Part of the reason some of the mods are a little, just varied is, I mean, that's just kind of what I got as far as the RNG goes, so.
Yeah, it happens. It does happen. You've got a couple one-offs, which, I mean, if you're going for the extra crit H, which it looks like you are because you have crit H on every one of these, it looks like you started with the base of crit D2, crit H.
Yep.
So, which is not terrible. I mean, you're a Fed character, you're trying to get your crit H up. I can see that. So definitely, yeah, and one of them popped to crit D times 3, which is awesome. Yep. And then another one popped damage, which is what you would consider a one-off. So I'm assuming you were going for the crit D3, crit H.
Yep.
which is not a bad combination. Trying to get, there we go. And then you've still got a couple very rares up here, even at the Mark 14 level. And then, of course, you've got your 3 very rare Mark 11s down in the aft section of your ship. So I would say get those up when you can.
Yep.
Yeah. I would worry about getting the Mark 11 weapons up to 14 before I worry about getting the Mark 14 weapons up in rarity, because you're going to see a much bigger difference in getting those weapons up to 14.
Okay.
And it's also the faster and cheaper way to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Yes, it is. It is. Alright, so do we want to take a look at the bridge officer
Fuck
skills?
that bitch in the dick.
What
Join
about
the
his
server.
devices?
Oh yeah. One
Space
second,
field
I forgot the
modulator,
other.
energy amplifier, weapons battery. That'd be my thought.
Energy amplifier and a armor catalyst.
Yeah. Energy amplifier and an armor catalyst. I can do that. Energy amplifier. There we go. And you said armor catalyst. We can do that.
And extra heal.
Where is that? And of course is the reactive armor catalyst. There it is. There we go. So we have energy amplifier there as a battery, and then reactive armor catalyst. So there we go for his devices. Okay. As well as the, of course, the subspace field modulator, which comes from the episode Skirmish. Nice little resistance buff for any character. Alright, bridge officers. Oh my. I mean, for the tactical, you have a great start. You've got your debuffs. You've got two debuffs with your attack pattern beta 3 and attack pattern beta 1. You've got your 2 beam special attacks here. Fire at will 3, fire at will 1. So you've got basically a debuff to match your beam special attacks each time. So that's a great start. And then you have, of course, your tactical team to automate your shield redistribution. So you've got a good start there. And then, of course, you've got your engineering. You've got fire at will, you've got emergency power to weapons. Hello, I can't speak today. Emergency power to weapons 1. With I'm assuming you're cooling that down with DOFs because I only see one of them. And then you've got something for your shields. You've got another something for your shields. I'm not going to specify yet. And you have engineering team 3. So it looks like you are going kind of tanky with this build right now. And then of course you have 3 science. So you've got a good base here. What is the panel thing?
The difference between, how much difference is there between engineering team 3 and engineering team?
That is a good question.
I would put in an emergency power to weapons 3.
I would as well.
Yeah. And
a much greater power delivery bonus to the weapon systems. Quite a bit.
And he is running emergency weapon cycle.
Yes, okay.
And you can still cool down from the DOF, so...
For your question, Ed, Engineering Team 1 in Sector Space gives 5,771.2 hit points. Engineering Team 3, where is it? There. Gives 9,618.8 hit points. So it is a significant difference. It's about 4,000.
Yes.
So it's, yeah. Whereas, let's see, emergency power to weapons 3, where is that booger? Emergency power to weapons, there we go. Gives 16.6% all damage and 37.5 weapon power, and that's at level 3. At level 1, it gives 10% all energy damage and 22.5 weapon power. So the difference on the emergency power to weapons is not as significant as the healing difference.
I'm looking at the all damage percentage.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
Well,
the combination of the two. So,
I mean, I had the thought of going engineering team in the ensign, Nox to Sif in the lieutenant, and then emergency power to weapons 3 and his lieutenant commander. And then that would tweak his lieutenant engineering a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Where we could still keep the reverse shield polarity in the lieutenant slot and make use of that intel ability and put in OSS in the ensign.
Yeah. I mean, the thing for me is that the engineering team has a pretty long cooldown, and he's only got one.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather see... Yeah. I would rather see, if you're only going to have one, Ox to structural integrity.
But the thing is, do you really need the emergency power to shields if you're running priority 2 copies of it?
That's the other question, yeah.
Not really.
Because you've also got a copy of Science Team down there as well, which is basically going to do the same thing as applying instant shield to all facings.
Very true.
So that would free that up for an engineering team, or an emergency power to weapons, or...
Yeah, and if you put that for an emergency power to weapons, then that frees up the duty officer that's cooling down the emergency power to subsystem.
What do you mean by having him double stacked?
Yeah.
That slot for something a little aggressive or tanky.
Because right now he's got a chance of removing all debuffs, chance to reduce the recharge time. He's got 3 of them stacked. Chance to reduce the recharge time for emergency power to subsystem abilities. So that frees up 3 duty officers if we double up on the emergency power to weapon. And just take off the emergency power to shields. So now the question is, do we want to put an emergency power to weapons 3 and an emergency power to weapons 1? Or do we want to put like something like Ox to structural integrity and then put an emergency power to weapons 1?
I like the Ox to structural integrity.
Yeah, see, I would like the Ox to structural integrity.
Yeah.
In that
if you're tanking, then yes.
And that would be 2 Ox to structural integrity 2, and then put the emergency power to weapons 1. Okay, and that frees up 3 duty officers, which I'm gonna go and take those off now. I'm gonna leave the one that has a chance of removing all debuffs on use of any emergency power ability, because that's still a good thing to have if you're looking to tank. You know, if you're looking for survivability, that is a good thing to have, because that removes debuffs whenever you know, and you're going to be using that emergency power to weapons every 30 seconds. So that is a good thing to have. I mean, personally, I would like to see being able to use at least one of these, at least one of the skills for the Lieutenant Engineering / Intel as, you know, for an override subsystem safeties. I would like to. What do you
Wouldn't you
guys
find
think?
you'd be using your engineering team to counter the outage? I mean, I know the Iconius that's fitted, so it takes care of the weapon systems and the hot restarts there. The Iconius set doesn't always take care
Of the
yeah, and if you are going into EPG territory, you are going to need that Ox.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is very true. And we did just take out the engineering team. And that is the other use for engineering team, folks, to remove any disabled any disabled subsystem. There. Any disabled subsystem will be immediately repaired. Kirby can't talk. Kirby's medication is interfering. Okay.
Kirby's medication is available at your local pharmacy.
I love oxcarbazepine. Have I said that yet today? Okay. Okay, so. But yeah, that is the other use of engineering team, which we did just remove from this build, so.
Would the Warp Core Engineer help with that?
It's not going to help with repairing the subsystem. So. Yeah. So I'm thinking, then in that case, yeah, Ed's right. I think we should go ahead and just leave it at reverse shield polarity, because that is a very strong buff for your shields, and that way you can double up on it. Okay. And now for the science. So
I quite like them as they are.
You do, I know. Well, we talked earlier about changing the plasma explosion consoles to EPG. Now, the reason I was thinking that comes into the science thing. He's got 4 threat consoles. They're plus threat consoles. What do you guys think of feedback pulse instead of Gravwell?
Yes.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and that's why I suggested the EPG, because feedback pulse is still boosted by exotic particle generators. And so because you're pulling a lot of threat with the 4 threat generating consoles, you can have the feedback pulse and be able to have that boosted by the EPG, or exotic particle generators.
The reason why I said I liked it is, as people in here know, I like gravity wells.
I know you do.
Yeah,
I like gravity wells too.
Hey look, an orc from Neverwinter.
Now, I personally would flip the hazard emitters and the science team. Go with a hazard emitter 1 and a science team 2, but that's just me.
Well, with the reverse shield polarity, he really isn't going to need as many shield heals. The hazard emitters...
Basically uses science team plans.
Yeah, the hazard emitters will be a stronger hull heal at level 2, and so that's why I would leave it there. But, of course, your mileage will vary, so that is a suggestion if you find you need a stronger shield heal.
But the good thing about it is those skills are easily trainable, that you have the officer both, so you can switch, mix and match and test it, see which way around you want it. There's no way that you less than 300 energy credits for the manuals.
Yeah, it is. And I find personally that I usually like it with science team at level 1 and hazard emitters at level 2. But that doesn't mean that's the way that it works for everybody. So. Yep, so do your testing, find out what works best for you. But I definitely leave the feedback pulse at level 2. They're in the lieutenant commander slot.
Yep.
Alright, so duty officer. Oh, so we just freed up 3 of them. Alright, so we've got...
Obviously keep the fabrication engineer.
Definitely.
And the warp core engineer.
Yes, definitely, because that's removing debuffs whenever you use emergency power ability. The fabrication engineer is increasing the duration of the reverse shield polarity, which we want to do. And then the advisor here is chance to reduce recharge on hull heals when using any shield heal. So that's going to be...
Tiger,
go ahead.
which enemy do you fight the most?
Probably the Borg.
Gilreen.
Okay.
Quite cheap at the moment. Gone are the days when Dilreen would set you back 80 million. I think
Warfare
I've seen
specialist?
him on I've seen him on the exchange now for around about 4. I think one guy's in my fleet picked up one for 6 million the other day, and basically he'll give you what, 10% bonus damage against the Borg.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I would drop one of those on there if you're doing Borg runs.
Increased damage versus Borg on space maps.
And also make sure you've got Neil Falconer, who was the free giveaway in your ground slot, because he gives
because he gives
space as well.
definitely, yeah.
Always handy to have him there.
Alright, so that leaves us 2 DOFs.
I was thinking development lab scientists for the resistance debuff to feedback pulse.
Yes, that's a good idea. You can stack those as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
The other option would be a maintenance engineer for the battery effect.
Yeah, that's what I was
the
thinking.
energy amplifier, so you can boost
Could
the
do.
auxiliary power and 2.5% boost, whatever the energy amplifier does.
1 each.
We could do one each, yeah.
Works.
Okay, resistance debuff to feedback pulse. There we go. And then
there's the exocomp.
Yes, the exocomp, which does come free. So, and that is exactly what we're talking about. So, maintenance engineer. And that is additional buffs based on type of battery activated. Very rare. There we go. Alright. So it gives you a little bit of everything, and that's how we would use those 3 DOFs that we have freed up. Alright. The skill tree.
That is what I call balanced.
It's gonna need some work.
That is what I call balance.
I was actually thinking of staying with a balanced, but just kind of tweaking things. What your guys' thoughts are.
It's doable, especially if he wants to do tanking.
You mean no ultimate?
Yeah, no ultimate.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Right. Let's lose our first point out of improved warp core potential. There we go. There's one saved.
Okay, so take out that one. Okay.
Yeah.
The improved warp core potential, yeah.
We tell everybody this, Tiger, that when you actually look at the bottom of the skills tree, you've got that improved water core potential and next. They both basically do the same thing, but the water core efficiency will give you a better bonus than. So it's only if you've got nothing else to spend and would I really drop that in there? It's sort of like doubling up on a skill and one's negating the other.
Now I was thinking pulling all 4 tactical points out of his lieutenant commander ability.
That's right. Well, defensive maneuvering, I can see keeping the 2 points there, especially if he's going to tank. But the accuracy, it's iffy as to whether you need it or not. I mean, I really don't think you do.
Pull his points out of control, expertise, and amplification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you really don't need him, especially since he's not going to have the gravity well. And I think we can take it out of the impulse draft. Or the full impulse energy shunt.
Yep.
Yeah, you can always make do with a boost using battery.
Yeah.
Emergency power.
Well, I'm thinking then only putting 1 point in defensive maneuvering.
Okay.
That's specifically so you can load up on his commander abilities for tactical.
Yeah.
For his weapon specialization and amplification.
Yeah, we can boost the amplification on the both crit severity and chance.
Yeah. And I'm thinking we can get rid of the readiness both in engineering and in science, and I'll explain that a little bit later. We'll go back as to why we took those out. But I think we can get rid of those.
Honestly, that was an experiment. Didn't
yeah.
Really notice much.
Well, you're not really going to. 1 point in it is only going to give you 10%. It does take 30% to get a skill down to what we call global, which is basically the shared cooldown. So, yeah. So it is going to take 3 of those points, and that'll just get it down to 20%, which is you still need another 10% to get it down to that global. But there's good news, and I'll tell you what it is later. Okay.
So how many points do you have available right now?
So that leaves with 9 available.
All right, so obviously part gens max that out.
Part gens, yes, because we put points into, or we put the feedback pulse on, so we want the part gen.
Yep.
And then I was thinking...
And the criticals as well for the weapons.
Yep.
I would also want to see something in damage control as well.
Damage control, where's...
Improve that hull hit and then...
Oh, 1 in that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking 1 in damage control.
Now, the other thing I was thinking was pulling 1 point out of full restoration and 1 point out of shield restoration. But, we're trying to tank with it, but how much are you really getting with that extra point?
I would say leave with shield restoration. Maybe... I don't know. I think we're okay because we still have 3 points available.
Okay.
So 2 points are good. Okay. So I'm thinking maybe 1 more point in shield regeneration, so we can get those shields up a little bit faster if they do fall.
Yep.
And maybe 1 point in, usually you end up dying to torpedoes, so I can never remember which is
Hull
which.
plating.
So ablative hull plating.
Yep.
And then maybe a 2nd point in damage control.
Well, the other thing I was thinking was, since he's running 2 hangars on the carrier,
Okay.
I don't know if we want to put any coordination protocols or
We could.
I don't know what the survivability is on those hangar pets, because I've never.
We could definitely put in 1 point in coordination protocols. That'd use the last point. What are your thoughts, Ed? Gives 20% survivability to his hangar pets, and the more they survive, more chance they have to do DPS.
Yeah.
Of course, another option is putting a 2nd point back into defense maneuvering.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the improved damage control, like you said, though. My brain's stuck there. But I'm also thinking of,
You're also thinking of what?
Point in auxiliary subsystem performance. Because of that feedback pulse.
Where'd you go? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You see it?
Sorry, remember. Yeah. Because feedback pulse does depend on your aux power, and that would give an extra bit of aux power. The auxiliary power. That is a good point, but it is.
It's only a small increase, though.
Yeah, it's a small increase. Which there's other things like that are giving much more of an increase, like the warp core and stuff like that.
What are your thoughts, Tiger?
Thoughts about.
How squishy are your pets?
How squishy are they?
Yeah.
Good question.
Do you find you're having to constantly send them out, like every time the ability comes up? Are you having to send your pets out again?
Kind of depends on how much threat they're drawing, but yeah, they do have a tendency to bite the bullet a lot.
Okay.
Of course, part of that may have to do with the fact that I think they've got impact. So if they get low health, then they basically ram the enemy.
Oh, yeah, that'll do
like
it.
Suicide Squad.
So in that case, having the extra 20% survivability wouldn't. Hey now.
Yeah, I don't know if they.
So if they do, yeah. So if they do have the suicide suicide thing, yeah, then they're not gonna having the extra 20% hull really wouldn't help them much.
It just means they're going to be longer before they commit Harry-Carry.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Kamikaze. That's the word I was looking for.
There we go.
Thank you. Okay. So that puts us back at defensive maneuvering, which is going to get him an extra bit of, he'll be harder to hit overall.
I don't know how hard it is to hit that giant friggin' ship.
Yeah, I think
Got
Banjo
stormtrooper
and
shooting
Cal
at him.
come into mind.
You couldn't hit the broadside of a bomb.
No,
I don't know.
know.
Are you saying that the Borg are likened to stormtroopers?
Oh, pretty much.
Yep.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe we should just put that point in the auxiliary.
Okay. I could
Personally, I would put it in there over defensive. So
there's an episode title for you.
Hit the broadside of a Vonph. There you go. Okay. So I think that tweaks it nicely.
The other thing too is, don't we want stuff shooting at him?
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily. Well, yeah, you're right. We do want things shooting at him when the feedback pulse is active. So you are correct. But yeah, you are correct. All right. So gonna take a quick look at ground, and he didn't even put him in.
Yeah.
All right. What do we always say,
That's 'cause
guys,
he
for
knows.
ground? He knows for ground. What do we always say?
Top left, bottom right, carry a hypo.
Top left, bottom right, carry a hypo. Okay. Oh, we forgot to do the skill unlock. Okay. So, for space. Alright. You got transwarp cooldown. Where's the one? Engineering has it. Okay. Engineering. Yay! Battery expertise. Good, because you're going to be using batteries. So, choose the battery expertise.
That's funny.
Okay.
Steve's wife said that.
Shots
she did.
fired. Hey.
Yeah, I know I told her to.
Alright. And threat control. Yes, you do want the extra threat control. And that all ties into why we are taking out the readiness. Alright. And of course, we're not going to worry about the skill unlocks for ground, because most of that is your choice. Okay. Primary and secondary specializations. What do you have filled out, Tiger?
Pretty much everything but temporal.
Okay. Alright, so because you don't have temporal filled out, I would suggest Intel as your primary and then strategist as your secondary. Once you get temporal filled out, then I would switch to temporal.
Okay. I am working
Sound
on
good,
it.
guys?
It's just about
That would have been what I would have
Wednesday.
suggested.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and strategist is very important to have as your secondary if you have it filled out. And the attrition warfare is why. And we will explain this a bit more. This ties into why we got rid of the secondaries, or why we got rid of the readiness. Thank you. Can't think of words today. Why we got rid of the readiness. Okay. And let's look at traits. Traits, guys, traits.
Yeah, I'm looking at them. I quite like them so far.
I do.
I like the look of all his personal
seriously,
space traits.
Ditch intense focus at the moment, and also, yeah, to anyone listening out there, intense focus still is not working right. The debuff is being applied to you, not to your target. So, yeah, a bit bugged at the moment. Come on, Crit Dick, let's fix that one. It's been like that since launch, if not just before.
Yeah. So we do have Helmsman, which is great for increasing the turn rate and reducing the cooldown in evasive maneuvers. Ablative Shell, kind of like Molt for space. Biotech Patch increases the effectiveness of your hull heals. Techie, or no, sorry, Grace Under Fire, hello. Not recognizing things today. Grace Under Fire, so this gives you a chance to use your Miracle Worker more often if you are hit by something really hard. Pattern Recognition, of course, increases your ability to defend against enemy starships while you're in battle. Living Hull increases your ability to regenerate.
I will
Intense
admit, though,
focus. Yeah, go ahead.
the living hull trait itself, when you actually look at the amount it heals, it's if you have a better trait, slot it.
I was thinking maybe swapping that out for Particle Manipulator.
If he has it, then
yeah.
yes. That's a nice bonus to in there.
Now we could change out Intense Focus. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking change out
intense
Intense Focus for Beam Training.
Yes,
Where
I would agree with that.
It? There it is. Went right by it. If it were Snake, it would have bit me. And then change out Living Hull for Fleet Coordinator.
What about Particle Generator?
Oh yeah, Particle Generator. Or not Particle Generator.
Particle Manipulator.
Particle Manipulator. Yeah. This is true. Particle Manipulator.
And for those who don't know, Kirby's been secretly given. That's why it's a happy room today.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Yep, he's been on them as well. Even the Lord is happy.
Yeah.
Let's be singing about it earlier on today.
So the Particle Manipulator, of course, gives extra critical chance as on your exotic damage abilities. Oops.
That's based at 25% of your part gen.
Yes.
And that's up to maximum of 50%.
There we go. So it's quite a good ability. All right. So now we have for his ship, we have Shield Overload. Activating emergency power to shields will also apply a massive boost to damage resistance and shield hardness. However, the effectiveness of this boost will drop off over time. Well, since we took off emergency power to shields, that can come up. Battle Ready, quite nice, and a free trait, by the way. Okay, so
that's actually off the Eclipse.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought it was from running something. Okay, my mistake. I apologize.
Thinking of the
That's
best
right.
defense.
It was the best defense. Thank you. Go ahead.
Blame the meds again. What I'm doing.
Well, if we took shield overload off, we should probably put on improved feedback pulse, providing he has the
that's
anniversary
what I was
ship.
thinking.
Yep.
And then critical systems. Good.
Okay. Now here's a question. Critical systems or sorry.
Right, we'll edit this pause out, don't worry.
Yeah, I was thinking part of the feedback loop.
Improve feedback.
Oh, I quite like the idea of that particle feedback loop.
Ooh.
I quite like the idea of that. That'd be fun to play with. Critical
systems, your ability to manipulate emergency power. Okay. Your ability to manipulate emergency power to your systems increases the overall damage output of your ship, increasing the chance of a critical hit and the damage it will inflict. There. got it out. Okay. So in other words, you get extra crit hit and crit severity when you're under the effect of emergency powered weapon. So, critical systems, or what was the other choice?
Particle feedback loop.
Particle feedback loop. Which is...
Wanted to get your guys' thoughts.
Yep. So particle feedback loop will improve the effectiveness of the feedback pulse.
I
Particle
think
feedback.
I think stay with the critical system.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason being is it's the duration of the abilities and
Yeah, with 2 copies of emergency powered weapons, that's going to have a 100% uptime.
yeah, and I'm thinking if
Yeah.
there'd been a second copy of feedback pulse in there and you're playing with 2 copies and calling down science and a few other shenanigans, then yes, it might be viable. But with just the 1 copy, I mean, how close to global is that 1 copy? Because that's the only way of making the skill viable or making the trait viable.
Yes.
Of the other trait.
Okay, and then of course space reputation. I see precision, so that's an extra 4% crit chance. Can't speak.
Do we have all of the reps available to us?
Almost.
Okay, what's missing?
Working on temporal defense.
Okay, working on temporal.
At tier 4 out of 5, so almost there.
Okay. So advanced targeting systems, of course, for extra crit severity. And this is energy refrequencer, which is awesome, especially if you're trying to tank. Nukara, tier 4 auxiliary power configuration offense. And then we have enhanced armor penetration. So my thoughts would be either tactical advantage, or there is one from Iconian that does increase, give a slight increase to,
Yeah, your exotic damage is called
exotic damage.
Particle amplifier.
Particle generator amplifier.
Right, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a 7.5% boost, isn't it, or 5%?
I believe so.
5%.
Yep, that's looking game. In-game says, hello.
Good.
Hello, skills. There we go. Traits,
yeah, 5%
that's what I
bonus
want.
exotic damage.
Thank you, Ed.
Right.
Yep.
I only realised I was on the tune that had it slotted.
5% bonus exotic damage, exactly. So we could go for that, or we could go for... Where is it? Not temporal. Where's the one? Tactical advantage. It's from Dyson, which gives... applies in space. It gives... Selected target receives a damage resistance debuff to your attacks based on its current health. Basically, it's 0 to 15 damage resistance rating based on target's current health, so it gives an extra debuff.
Or we could go with the auxiliary power configuration for defense.
Yes, we could.
Since he's tanking.
And that will also, because it's based on the aux level.
Yes, we could. We could. I was actually.
But this is one of those things that because we've got the 3 traits, testing would.
It would
be his better option to see which occurs. I can actually see preference for the power configuration offense as well.
You mean defense?
Just defense, yeah, because of the extra little tankiness it gives. I have used that quite a bit in the past myself.
It would give a permanent, nice little defensive buff or damage resistance. I would say putting that in and then testing the others that we've suggested.
Just see which one works best for you.
Yeah.
Or what you seem to see better results out of.
Now, we did mention that we took away some of the readiness, and I was going to actually look in game to show why. Now, when you get to a certain level, you get the, what is it? The little thing that allows you to change your threat, and for the life of me I can't remember what it's called. I'm going through my things looking for it now. There it is, threatening stance. Okay. So with strategist, and I'm pulling this out because on this turn I don't use it. So with strategist, the skill tree, you'll remember there are certain things that with strategist has one effect when you're in threatening stance, one effect when you're not. As a tank, you usually want to be in threatening stance because your job as a tank is to pull as much of the threat to you as you can. Okay? Now it also gives you certain buffs and whatnot, and you know, and extra healing and things like that. So when you're in threatening stance, you're getting some extra healing and extra buffs and things like that. Well, with attrition warfare, you said you have your strategist tree all filled out. So with attrition warfare, I want you to listen. Remember we said 30% cooldown reduction was what you needed to get down to global for the skills. So while threatening, once every 20 seconds, Bridge Officer and Captain Hull Heals reduce Bridge Officer recharge time by 30%. Are you catching what I'm saying there?
Yep.
So as long as you hit a heal once every 20 seconds, you basically have everything down to global all the time. Okay? As long as you stay in threatening stance. Okay? So we've built this so that you have doubled up abilities, but if you can get that timing right and figure it out, you'll be able to change out your doubled abilities for other items, other things, because you won't need them anymore. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. If you can, once you get, handy with that or used to that, you'll be able to work with that and get it, get things working a little better and figure out other things you can do with those extra slots. If that makes sense. Giggity,
you
giggity
had to say that, figure out what else you can do with those extra
Yes,
really
I
voice,
did.
Didn't you, Kirby?
I did.
That was not on purpose.
No, it was not. Disclaimer, it was not on purpose, folks. Anyway. So yeah. So if, like I said, if you can get that timing right, you only need one copy of everything. But it does take, of course, getting that timing right. So that can be a challenge in and of itself.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yes, exactly. So there you go. And that's why we took away the readiness, because if he can get that timing right, he's not going to need it. So there we go. Alright, any other questions, Tiger, while we got you here?
No, sounds like we've got a pretty good series of adjustments that I can make, and that should help me out.
Alrighty. Any other thoughts from the panel?
No, I'm good.
I'm good as well.
Awesome.
Well, I do have one last thought.
Yes.
Eventually, you might just want to get away from anti-proton because that shit's just annoying.
The
Ooh,
opinions
I'm
of
watching
just
hate mail
Steve
come
do
in
not
now.
necessarily reflect the opinions of the rest of those of the of the show.
You like your weapons to sound like a piece of scaffolding being dragged through a chain link fence? If so, go anti-proton. Yes, Steve, I can hear it right now. Hate mail coming in.
I happen to like. Go ahead.
Hey, Steve, did you happen to see the, well, due to the internet issues Friday, we weren't able to get it, but they posted the details for the next lockbox on the German STO site. New weapons are AP.
Yeah.
Fail.
Now, I happen to like the sound of anti-proton, so...
Yeah, but you like things that are annoying, and that's why I'm on the show, so...
This is true. Anyway. Alright, so this has been Utopia Planitia, doing a Vonph Dreadnaught Carrier, and we will see you next time. Say goodnight, folks.
Good night, folks.
Good night, Ain. Make me cookies.
Night.
Good night.